Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. Everytown, an authoritarian police state enthusiast group funded by oligarch Michael Bloomberg, recently published a helpful dealer finder app. Well, they weren't really trying to be helpful. They're actually trying to harass and intimidate innocent people by doxing them and sicking an entire army of wine-drunk suburban mommies on them. You see, Everytown recently discovered many federally licensed firearms dealers operate their business out of their home, and they think that's bad because reasons and stuff. And guns, of course. So they downloaded the full publicly available list of all FFL holders and plugged it into a mapping application. That makes it convenient for their radicalized followers to track down and harass gun dealers at their homes or call in false police reports to swat them. Because although they claim to support licensing and background checks and government control and legal gun ownership, they clearly take issue with all these people complying with the law. So they published a map so you could see where all these law-abiding scofflaws live. Because, as they point out, you probably wouldn't even know your neighbor was a merchant of death if not for the map. Except, if you wouldn't know and they're minding their own business, complying with federal law and not hurting anybody and submitting to background checks and random physical inspections of their property and papers, doesn't that suggest there really isn't much to be worried about in the first place? Unless the whole point is to incite your unhinged followers to cause harm to your political opposition. Regardless of their intent, they accidentally made a really convenient tool. Well, it would be more convenient if it actually worked in Chrome, but it's still useful enough in other browsers. We'll link it down there in the description as always so you guys can find your favorite new dealer. But it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors. So let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by TNVC.com, your source for good, old-fashioned, all-American night vision just like Mom used to make. And by Gunstock, a 2-day festival of peace and guns in Waxahachie, Texas. Come hang out with me and shoot some guns September 23rd and 24th. We'll have food and music, 40 shooting bays, and the TNVC experience where you can get your hands on some of the latest night vision devices. Yet another nutcase mass unaliver admitted he did it to promote gun control. The shooter in Philadelphia told cops he did it to stop gun violence. We don't often spend a lot of time covering mass public unaliving events, partly because the corporate media already does just such a great job saturating our awareness with the coverage of these, honestly, rare events, and because the YouTube algorithm prevents me from speaking plainly on the subject. But recently, this sort of thing seems to be a trend. It has become so obvious the legacy media is using events like this to push gun control that even the nutters are responding. You know, there's a word for people who use violence and fear to achieve a political goal, but I can't say that word on YouTube without getting demonetized. You know you're over the target when they write a law just for you. That's what happened to Daniel Banyai. He operates a farm and training facility in Vermont. When neighbors complained about the noise, the town tried to stop Banyai with zoning restrictions, which he simply ignored. The town then sued him in the state's environmental court, which ordered him to tear down the structures he had built without a permit. He ignored that ruling as well and began racking up $200 a day in fines. Eventually, the town bosses convinced a state legislator to drop a law which more or less bans firearms training. We reported on that a while ago. Last week, a judge issued a warrant for Banyai's arrest if he does not comply and destroy the unpermitted structures. Although Banyai was perfectly willing to sacrifice his own liberty to fight this injustice, he was not willing to sacrifice the well-being of the animals on his farm while he remained locked up indefinitely, so he decided to demolish the range. He is still continuing his lawsuit against the town of Paulette, though. So if you are willing to help him fight for your rights, please donate to his Give, Send, Go campaign. As always, we'll link down there in the doobly-doo.
Gundustry News.
If you were thinking about buying a ZPAP, might want to do it sooner rather than later. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said, I think I said that right, said he intends to halt the export of ammunition and weapons because some of it is ending up in Ukraine. There is some debate about how accidentally on purpose that actually is, because Serbia doesn't really want to harm its relations with Russia, but no one is denying some arms are getting to Ukraine from Serbia. Why does that matter to you? Because if Serbia goes through with the export ban, that could affect products imported from Zastava and Prvi Partizan. Zastava USA issued a statement on Instagram saying they haven't heard anything specific from the Zastava factory yet, but we will keep you updated. Springfield Armory just announced a new striker-fired polymer frame pistol, and before you yawn and drift off about another striker-fired polymer frame pistol, there's actually some interesting stuff going on here. The biggest thing to me is the universal optics cut on the slide, which I think is about time. They're calling it the Variable Interface System. It allows most red dots to mount directly to the slide without the use of an adapter plate. That means they'll sit a lot lower, and many of them will co-witness without the need for suppressor height irons. It also has a modular fire control group like the SIG 320 series. That means the only serialized component is this fire control group, so the end user can swap out frames and barrels and slides and whatever without having to transfer a new firearm. It should also make for some really interesting third-party accessories and home build projects. It also has aggressive slide serrations, texturing, and an integrated mini gas pedal style thumb rest to help with recoil control. It will ship with one 17-round and one 20-round magazine, and MSRP is $680. And now for your moment of Zen. Hey friend, do you like pews and pew-related things? Do you want to hang out with us and talk about pews and pew rights? ARFCOM is launching a new Discord server, and we could use a handful of people to help us test it. If you're interested, click the link down there in the doobly-doo, but it will only be active for the first 100 people. Don't worry though, if you miss out, as soon as we get it all sorted out and all the bugs worked out, we'll open it up for everybody. And if you want to help us keep delivering you pure, uncut American pew propaganda at the low, low price of free video, please do us a solid and get yourself something nice from tnvc.com. You deserve it. I love you. Says he's... Vučić? Don't know. Don't know.